Jolene, you want to take it away?
Sure. Okay. I have a very lengthy agenda tonight, but I'm not going to read all of it. It was just more information on for you guys, on all the new regulations coming down from DEC. So you have a copy of your station report. Projects that we are working on. We conducted a tour at the Greenport Transfer Station yesterday for the members of the Germantown Waste Management team. They had requested to kind of see the station and get an update on what the solid waste department is up to. And Ron was kind enough to join us for that tour. The paint stewardship program. So originally DEC had promoted and is passing legislation to sponsor a paint stewardship program. It was supposed to take effect November of this year, but due to COVID, it's going to be pushed back to 2022. And what the program is if you buy paint, you're going to pay a little extra fee for it, but you would be able to bring it back to the retailers that sell it. Unfortunately, DEC hasn't really gotten that far yet, and there's not enough outlets throughout New York State to accept the material. So we were supposed to have a conference call last week with Paint Care, who is going to be the company that's taking the paint back, and they had to cancel. So we're going to be holding a Zoom meeting next Tuesday to get more information about possibly being an outlet for the paint. Of course, by the state passing this, we're not going to be able to collect it at household hazardous waste events in the future and be reimbursed. So our thought was if we could be one of the outlets to be able to take the paint back from the residents, it would be a win-win for everybody. Supposedly there's no cost involved in this, but again, they haven't worked out all the details yet. So we are cautiously optimistic that we will be participating in this program. So next month's meeting, I should have some more information for you. Another bill that they are proposing is the New York recycling bill. And again, this is shifting the responsibility from local governments to the corporate producers for the end-of-life disposal of packaging and paper products. Last Friday, I did receive notification that they put a halt to this bill at this time, and they're not sure it's going to meet the budget for this year's go-around. There was a lot of issues that were brought up, primarily from those producers that are smaller, like newspaper industry and such, that are already have a recycling commodity or doing the best they can. But if they put an added burden on them to pay for the recycling of all the material, it's going to be a huge impact on their businesses. So again, that is on hold, and we'll have to wait and see where it's going to go. We did have a request from a member of the New Lebanon Climate Smart Committee to allow a company, Brand Builders, that sells composting and rain barrels, to use our stations to do demonstrations for the public. Ron and I talked about it a little bit. And Ron, do you want to kind of give a little thought to this?
Yes, Jolene did give me a little information on this, and then I have since read through her information on the agenda. I haven't had much time to explore the company that these people are referring us to, but I do need to take this to Simmons, our county attorney, and ask him, because to me it rings a bell that we would be promoting a private business on county property, and they're asking us to do flyers and research and let them use the property, whereas these containers are for sale on Amazon or Home Depot or other places. So why wouldn't we promote other businesses as well too? So I don't know. I heard it was done in other communities, but I need to find out more about that. So I do have concerns, but I think this is a good thing for people to promote. If the climate smart groups wanted to promote this on their own, that's fine, but having the county tax dollar resources to promote a private business is a concern. We need to talk about it.
Okay. And also to follow up on that, I did speak to the member of the New Lebanon group and suggested that perhaps they should get a booth at the county fair this year, or in the future, maybe all the committees together throughout the county could hold a one-day event similar to an Earth Day event and invite all the vendors. It would be a really great opportunity for people of all ages to see all the different technologies out there and have an opportunity to purchase it or try it out. Next on the list is the food donation and food scrap recycling law. That program, I sat through a seminar today, and there's new regulations coming down that's going to require any large generator of food scraps to either donate the edible food or recycle it or compost it. There is a number of exemptions, and again, I won't go through all that. It's on the agenda coming down the pike, and it's something that in the future I'll be giving a presentation on. We're going to see about possibly doing a pilot program in the future. Another bill is the expansion for styrofoam containers and loose fill. That's going to take effect in January of 2022. And again, I gave you guys some background information on how it's going to affect the community. It's primarily going to be for businesses that engage in selling or distributing prepared food and beverages for on-premise or off-premise consumption. They're no longer going to be allowed to do that, and we'll have to come up with an alternative plan. Finally, the last two on the agenda is we're going out to bid for the 2022 Household Hazardous Waste Collection event. In the bid spec, I am going to leave paint as an option that we could either opt in and opt out, depending on what New York State does and if the legislation actually goes into effect as it's supposed to. And lastly, I have a resolution request. It's authorization to fill one part-time laborer's position in the solid waste department, whereas the position is vacant due to a resignation.
Jolene, I just got a question for you on the waste, like the foam and some of the other stuff for the businesses. Where are those guys doing with the stuff now? They bring it in into you, or they have their own collection agencies picking that stuff up?
It's both. Most of the time, if it's a business, I'm sure that they have their own private waste hauler.
Okay.
It's not a recyclable material, so it would be going out as garbage.
So it's not, this is really just for businesses, am I correct saying
Correct.
that?
That is correct. Yeah.
Not citizens in the residents in the county?
No. Nope.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. This one, I think we already looked at this already. Ron, is this the one that we ran through a committee already?
Yes, we did go through the budget salary committee last week.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it, Kippy.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, unless you have any other questions or after reading this information, if you have any questions, please feel free just to give me a call at the office and I'll be happy to explain it further to you.
Jolene, are we going to have sufficient staffing for the summer for these satellite transfer stations?
I hope so.
Well, because, they talk to me quite freely at the Chatham one. They voiced their concerns to me if one guy goes down, and I think the average age is over 60, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, the average age is probably more like 70. Yeah. We are down a few employees right now. We have a full-timer that we're not sure our labor that's going to come back, and that's a huge impact for us as we overlap with our full-time employees when part-timers are out. We just had 2 part-time return back to work. So the last couple months, yeah, it's been a little rough, but hopefully we'll be all right.
All right, because they sure are busy up here.
No,
Well,
they
I
are.
want to wear out the old boys.
I know. In the past, we did have a pool of 35 part-timers. We are now down to 20, but that was a decision by the board, to cut our expenses with the 0.1.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, no other questions from Jolene. We'll move on to what we got next. Facilities up.
We've got highway up.
Okay, next. I'm sorry. All right. Let Tony go then.
All right. Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I won't go through all the work schedule. It's usual stuff for this time of year. We have started dismantling our snow fence and sweeping our roads, which is the beginning of our spring work. The winter seems to be, and I probably shouldn't say it, but it looks like the long range forecast looks pretty good. We're kind of coming out of winter now. So personnel update. I still have one employee out on extended sick leave. I have no new business, no resolutions requests, but I did want to discuss filling some of the open funded positions within the highway department. And I included tonight some breakdowns of what we have open, as well as what we need to operate. As you know, we made it through the winter thanks to solid waste. I believe we used 5 of your personnel, Jolene. Is that correct? And they were assigned 2 plow trucks. So it wasn't like we used them when needed. They were actually assigned the plow trucks to fill those positions, along with the 2 seasonal guys that we have. The seasonal guys are all done on the 31st. So that would put us down to just the remaining solid waste guys to assist us if we were to get any snow. I know last year we had snow into April, but I'm hoping that's not the case this year. As you can see, we have 9 open positions. Now, these are all funded in the 2021 budget. Prior to last year, we had actually unfunded, I believe, 10 positions, and that was due to the loss of the state runs. We unfunded 10 of those positions. So these 9 positions are open on top of those 10 that we no longer have. So within the last 3 years, that's 19 positions that are not there in the winter and the summer to try and do 1, snow plowing, and 2, summer work. Again, it's not a big issue right now. The 10 was not a big issue because we no longer had those plow runs. However, the 9, obviously this year, affected us in the winter, and solid waste was able to bail us out with that. Motor equipment operator ones, I currently have 4 open. I also have 2 open resolutions from 2019. Those were approved, and then we did not fill them because shortly after they were approved was when we initially lost that first round of state roads. So those 2 open resolutions are there and able to be filled. We have 1 motor equipment operator 2 position that's open, and 2 senior motor equipment operator positions that are open. Those are 2 guys that retired. One was last April, one was last May, and it was right just after COVID and everything hit. So we did not fill those. I have received a little bit of flack, from members of the union because we have not promoted in those positions, and we did have 2 guys that knew those positions were going to be opening up, actually became operators on the Great All and trained on all that, and then we kind of put the positions on hold. The next position down is the skilled laborer 2, and that's our parts room guy. And I don't know if anybody remembers, we actually had a resolution in last March. The resolution went in just before COVID, I think, to eliminate this title and replace it with the parts room attendant, I believe was the new name. It passed Public Works, but was pulled by at the full board meeting. So I do not currently have a parts room attendant title. That was one of the civil service titles that was new. It was going to be tested. And as you know, we haven't had a civil service test since COVID. We filled this position with one of our motor equipment operator ones who was signed up for the test, had the experience. He's been in there for over a year now and has done a phenomenal job and has saved a ton of money in the parts room. He shops for everything they buy. He shops around. So, and there's quite a bit of discussion on that position last year. I know Ron and Jim, you're both heavily involved in that. And I can say that the guy that's working in there now is doing a phenomenal job, and I really don't want to run the risk of losing him in there. That skilled laborer 2 position is currently an open position because the resolution was pulled to replace it with the other position. It's still there, and that was basically Frank Bevan's position.
Right.
So that motor equipment operator 1 is currently in there working out of title, and he's getting out of title pay to fill that position. And then, as we all know, Jimmy Everett retired at the end of December, I believe it was, or end of November. So that position has been open since then, and that's the general foreman position, which is basically my deputy. Chris DeGraff was the only one on the civil service list for that. He's been filling that position and doing Jimmy's job since Jimmy retired. So that's basically the positions that I have open. And I understand it's 9 positions and it's a lot to take in. And by all means, I understand where the county's at financially and everything that goes around with it. I did include a breakdown just for reference, what kind of personnel we're using during our summer work schedule. At the very top, we have our blacktop crew. That's our patch crew. That's a minimum of 8 to 10 people, 2 to 3 truck drivers, depending on how far from the plant they're working, roller operator, drag box operator, gate operator, 2 laborers, and 2 flagmen. Your sign crew is 2 guys, and that's a full-time job. They spend their entire days replacing, repairing, putting up new signs, stuff like that. Your sandblasting crew, although the sandblasting crew isn't full-time for the entire summer, it's usually about a 1 to 2 months worth of work that they do, and they're responsible for sandblasting and painting plows, sanders, stuff like that. Roadside mowers, we operate 6 roadside mowers throughout the county. So that's 6 personnel right there just to operate those mowers. And they're the ones that, well, like it says, they do all the roadside mowing. So they're the ones responsible for keeping the grass mowed on the side of the road, keeping the intersection sight distance all clear. Sign shop is always 2 guys. They're on this list, but they're not really included in my personnel needs. They're kind of a separate entity. And I'm sure every supervisor has at one time or another had dealings with our sign shop and can tell you how phenomenal of a job that they do. And then there's our bridge maintenance and construction crew. And basically, they're the ones that do all the minor repairs and maintenance on all of the bridges, the 231 bridges or whatever it is I believe we have. And they're also the ones that do any kind of construction, heavy construction work that we have, catch basins, that need to be constructed, carpentry, stuff like that. And that's usually a 3 to 4 people. And then our culvert or catch basin crews, which is basically crews out of the outposts. Before we do any of these major projects, mill and fills, road reconstruction, paving, we go through first and we replace any drainage pipes that need to be done. We reconfigure the drainage. We put in catch basins. So each one of these crews is usually 7 to 10 people. Again, depending on how far out it is and the needs, whether you need 1 operator or 2 operators or 2 trucks or 4 trucks. And usually there's 2 or 3 of these crews going on at once because we have multiple roads that we're going to be doing. So these crews go out and they do all this ahead of that work. So as you can see, a shoulder mill and fill, which is when we rehab the shoulders, we've been trying to bring all of our roads before we redo them, bring them up to current specs and get, 26 feet of road, 10-foot lanes with 3-foot shoulders. In order to do that, what we do is we go through with a shoulder milling machine from Coloruso's or whoever has the bid for that particular time. And they mill out the shoulder. Our crews operate the trucks and the brooms that take the millings. Behind that, we fill it with blacktop binder. And again, our trucks haul the blacktop. We have roller operators, broom truck operators, water truck, 4 to 5 flagmen, depending on the traffic conditions and the road we're on, and then another 5 to 7 laborers between the two operations. The two operations work simultaneously. Because what we can't do is mill all the shoulders out and then leave it for the night and then fill it the next day because they do mill down 3 inches or so we can't leave that open. So that's operation right there. It takes about 35 to 40 people. I currently have 35 people. So if you took, when we try to do a shoulder mill and fill, it basically shuts down most of the other operations. It shuts down the drag box crew, which are the ones that patch all the roads in the summertime. A lot of times they'll shut down the mowers. So what ends up happening is they get behind. You start getting complaints about sight distance, stuff like that. So that's kind of the summer operation and where that manpower is used. And for those that are kind of unfamiliar with our snow and ice operations, this is the basic breakdown for each storm. We have position-wise, we have a general foreman and 3 assistant general foremen. They're on call every 4th week, and their responsibilities are to basically the entire county. They watch the weather. They go out, they'll watch the radar. They go out based on that, and their job is to initiate the snow and ice response. So that's 24/7 for them when they're on call. So basically what they do is they cover the whole county. If they see radar in one section showing snow, it's their responsibility to go up there and check that out. And they're the ones that would call the road foreman. We have 7 road foremen because there's 7 sections out of the 6 outposts. 2 in Hudson is broken down: Hudson North, Hudson South, and then of course you got Copiague, Kinderhook, Ghent, New Lebanon, and Livingston. So those road foremen would come out, and then from there it goes to the trucks being called in. It's not always every truck. Sometimes it's section by section. Sometimes it's 1 or 2 roads in each section that might need to be done. So that's kind of where the general foreman and assistant general foreman come in, as well as the road foreman. Shop foreman, that's kind of obvious what he does. He's called in with the road foreman, and he's responsible for all the repairs. The mechanics, they work 2 teams, an A and B team, of 4 each. So if they get called in at 6 o'clock at night, the A team would come in. They go home at say 10 or 11 o'clock and then get called back in at 4 o'clock. It would be the B team, and they rotate like that. We plow 263 miles of county roads as well as the airport. So this is the operation that gets that done every single time. We would not have been able to do most of that in a timely fashion this year had it not been for solid waste and then the 2 seasonals. We were lucky this year, believe it or not. We seemed to weather the whole COVID thing pretty well. I feel this year we probably had less people calling in sick than we have in the past, which is pretty amazing to me. So between that and solid waste helping us out, we were able to get through this winter. And then I just broke down what the loader operator does. You'll notice that the loader operator is only in Hudson. The outposts, they load themselves, but as far as the Hudson garage is concerned, he loads the trucks out of Hudson, and then other agencies constantly are coming in. Solid waste facilities, COARC, we load all of those. And then he's also responsible for blowing at the airport when we get heavy snow. And then, like I said, the shop foreman just coordinates all the repairs and the breakdowns, both in the shop and on the road, which sometimes is none, and sometimes it seems like it's every truck in the fleet at once. So he's got his hands full. But so that's kind of the breakdown of the positions, what they do, and what I have open. Like I said, I do currently have 2 open resolutions, and I'd really would like to fill immediately at least those 2 spots. I do have a seasonal guy who is ending next week, who this winter did go and get his CDL license. And I actually have foremen that are fighting over him because they all want him. And, with those open resolutions, I would be able to fill him immediately. But again, that's up to you guys. And of course, I don't know if anybody's got any questions or what they think is the best route to go. I'm obviously willing to work with whatever you think is the case. And as far as the why we've been able to operate is a lot of these positions are people that left after last year's construction season. So we got through most of last year's construction season. I think we lost 2 or 3. After the furloughs, they went to the towns just because they could make more money and they weren't furloughed. And then it was kind of gradual over the winter, a couple retirements, and then just a couple other people leaving. So we kind of came into the winter with all those openings, but made it through most of last year's construction season. And again, last year's construction season, we didn't do a lot of construction work because the CHIPS money was up in the air. We no longer had the capital money in my budget. That was, kind of taken away because of the budget restraints. So as we move forward and we get back into doing all this road work that needs to be done, and let's face it, we're a year behind, and you never really catch up. But when you take an entire construction season out of the mix, you're really behind. So in order to keep these projects going, I really need the manpower to do so.
Tony,
Yes.
I think you've been doing a great job. First of all, I want to say that, and
Thank you.
With this and helping the county. The parts room, we talked about that parts thing. Ron and I kind of went through that, and I think that
Yep.
position totally is saving us a lot of money compared to where we were, because we're purchasing parts cheaper, and he's very much up on watching the numbers on what we're buying rather than paying $6 for a can of something we can buy for $3.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
But I think Ron, if I'm right, I think we got to go through budget review on some of these positions. And I think to do that, if it was me, I would get together maybe a percentage of them, half of them,
Yep.
or 4 of them, or something like that, where it's your most important right now, and
Right.
get it through budget review,
Yep.
and then go from there. I mean, Ron, what's your feeling on that?
Yes, I agree, and I had kind of forgotten about the 2 open resolutions. We may be able to handle that differently, but that's what I wanted to ask Tony to do, is to give us a suggestion. One of my suggestions certainly is that we've got 2 people that are filling positions and working out of title. I think we need to open those positions up, but maybe not backfill them, especially with Jim's position. I assume if we fill the general foreman, that would probably be one of the assistant foremen is going to fill that position. If we filled that position but left a assistant general open, the same with the parts room position there. You're currently doing it now. You've got an MEO filling that, so we can do that. Then you need to tell us what you need to fill in order to get back to operations for the summer.
Yep.
Hey, Ron, why don't we? I mean, here's another thing. Set up a budget review committee before full board coming up, and then have a special public works and finance, right?
Well, I think, I don't know, Tony, you tell us. I mean, if we bring this to the next salary review committee, which is in about 2 weeks, and then run these through, but you would like to be able to fill maybe one of these open positions before then, so that you don't lose the part-timer you got?
Yeah, and that was kind of my reason, and I talked to you briefly about it, Ron. When I talked to you about it, it was kind of late in the game, anyways, to come to the committee with resolutions, and so I kind of wanted to break it down and then get everybody's feeling on it. Then we could talk about it after and decide, exactly which ones I want to bring resolutions for, because the resolution process alone, it's got to go to everybody, and rather than have everybody do all that work ahead of time, I figured we could discuss it. But I would absolutely, I'd really like to be able to fill at least one of those open resolutions. Like I said, I don't want to. I prefer not to lose this guy that I currently have working for me. And then, yeah, I can absolutely. I see what you're saying with the general foreman and not backfilling right now. I completely understand that. And yeah, and I'm good with that. I'm good with filling that one motor one now, and I can put together exactly kind of what I'd like to see at a minimum and go from there. Does that sound good?
Yes, and I'd like to just, maybe you have already done this, but because these resolutions are so old, should we talk to Rob or Michael about filling those now because they've laid around for a while? I don't know that, in fact. Is that?
Yeah. No, I haven't talked to them about it, so that might be a good thing to do.
Just to double check that,
Yep.
But Ron, what about budget review and anything?
So budget review, so Tony would come to budget review with a plan of which one of these positions to fill.
We got to go to budget review first to make sure
Right.
that that's okay. I mean, we can have that meeting earlier if they could put it together, which I'm
Right.
sure he would,
Yeah, I guess his good question is if he filled one of the open resolutions that you don't need to bring through committee. I don't know where that stands. I don't know.
Well, I thought everything was going through committee. I thought that was
okay. Yeah, well,
I'm not trying to be the bad guy here. I'm just telling
no.
you.
Well, that was our plan the other day, but I do see his position on wanting to grab one of these guys before they go away. But
I don't see a problem with it either. But I just know that's what we're doing across the board, and
So, Rob is on the phone or line there too. What if we did a temporary hire for one of these? Could we do a temporary fill until we go through budget for one of your part-time laborers or one of your part-time guys?
Ron, just looking at that, we probably want to check with Matt Morrell because I thought he even suspended the 30-day temporary fills, but I don't recall where we're at right now.
I think you're right. I forgot about that.
we suspended all of that, I think, Rob, and Matt wanted everything to go through budget review, salary review, whatever you want to call it. But I may be wrong with that, but that's what we've been doing.
No, you're right, Jimmy. I forgot about that part of it too. Yeah. I was back to the old days.
I think it's just I know, Tony, it seems frustrating, but it's a matter of we just go through these couple of steps. I think everything's fine.
Yeah, no, but believe me, I understand the process is a process. Believe me, I know that you gotta follow the right steps and do it the right way. And like I said, tonight I wanted to just present and kind of give an idea of where we're at, because it's been one position here, one position there that's kind of left. So 3 months ago we were talking. I tell you, I had 2 resign. So the last thing it was 2 people. 2 people, not a big deal. You know what I mean? But whereas 6 months ago we also had 2 resign, so it just kind of builds up.
Right.
I just kind of wanted to remind everybody where I'm at, so that when to just kind of let you know that I am at the point now where I need to start filling at least some of these. But I understand it's still got to go through the process.
And Tony's been great working through this whole budget situation, trying to make cuts and everything. You've been great working with us. So,
And you got to remember that we've already gotten through almost the first quarter of the year with these positions open and haven't.
Right.
So it's budgeted money that we've already saved on top of this year. So that's a good thing. But
there seems like a lot of money, may be coming, but out of this 11 or 12 million we're going to get, it's going to be cut in half, which means only probably 5 or 5.5 that we actually may have, and then at that particular point, we're still behind at 4.5 or close to 5 million. So, we're trying to figure out how to get this whole balance back together again. So even though it's budgeted, we're still trying to maintain a specific number on where we need to be step by step.
Yep.
so what if
We're
we
actually going to meet as much now, if not more, than we did during the main crisis. We have like another crisis starting,
Yeah.
So we'll have Tony bring some stuff to salary review committee next cycle here.
See, we can do something early if we need it, Matt. Yeah, I mean, Ron,
Okay. All right. We're meeting often enough. We can probably do that. right, anybody else have questions for Tony? I will say too, we don't have Dean with us tonight. Dean is out sick unexpectedly here, and wishing well. But Tony is talking to Barb about keeping things going a little bit, but I don't have a report from him for tonight. We'll move on to facilities.
Good evening, everybody. Let's see here. It's been actually a busy month so far. In the little bit of downtime that we've had, we've been slowly but surely catching up on a lot of work orders that we had at 325, painting offices and shampooing the rugs. So whenever we have free time, we usually try to get one or two rooms done in a couple days, and then if need be, move people around. And they've been real good to work with us over there at the health services building. We started moving some of the boxes for up in the storage area behind MIS, looking at possibly giving them more space. So that's a ongoing task we're doing. Couple main things over at the jail. We had a couple of backups, and basically it was more or less on the kitchen line. We snaked it out several times, and we're finding every once in a while there's some gloves, and I think some of the trustees. So I talked with the kitchen personnel. They gotta try to keep an eye on the guys, so we don't have to constantly go in there and snake the lines out. We had it's almost like an express route or like a water jet snake. This company that does it, they came in and snaked all the lines for us. So we usually do that once a year. So we were a little behind. So it was worth doing. Let's see here. Filling out nutrition. We placed a motor on one of the rooftop exhaust vents. Changed the belt and greased all the fans, so they're good to go for a while. Wastewater treatment. I think we had to pull the pump once, which is good, but we've had a couple issues with control wiring, so we had to put a new control box in, and I was out there the other night because the feeder wasn't working, so we wired that back on. Let's see here. The courthouse project, the soundproofing, like basically we calling it like kind of like phase one is done. That was all the wall panels. I think I sent some pictures in. April 1st, they're going to start doing the ceiling panels. So we have to kind of coordinate how we're going to do all this because they are still using grand jury, and we got to set up scaffolding and everything and work around the DA's grand jury every Wednesday. So that's going on. We're going to be pulling up the carpet and putting new flooring down. We're just waiting on the colors to be picked, and so we're actually ready to go. We're just waiting on the soundproofing to get done. As you can see, the brown sections, that's all the soundproofing that they've done. And it came out pretty nice. White is going to be on the ceiling, and believe it or not, with that proofing on the wall, it changes the acoustics in that room. I was shocked, and even the guys from the DA's office were quite surprised at how quick that changed. The other issue we had, there was last week we had the winds come, about a storm come through, knocked a branch down. So we immediately called the Columbia Tree Service to give us somewhat of an estimate and direction on what to do with some of the trees. And we did find out that some of them were in really bad shape. And so emergency reasons, we had to take 2 trees. Actually, they took 3 trees down for us. One was like a, hey, we'll do it anyways, we're here. And they got branches off of the power lines. The only problem is we weren't allowed to use the contract that they had with the highway because most of these were all emergencies, and the one tree had to get a crane in to come in that they took down. And that was the one directly across from the post office. So that big tree is no longer. She was rotted right through. And plus, I found out from Supervisor Sterling, after I informed him what was going on, that was, I believe, on the register. There's a forester that tagged that tree for removal, anyways. So he had 3 trees removed, and he took branches off of one of the power lines. So, he
Brian,
did.
would we have to pay more for that?
Yeah, see, the contract states that they're just going to do a little bit of topping. That's it, and then the highway takes over and does all the removal. He had to actually physically take this whole tree down because the power lines were right there. There was no,
Okay.
nothing about it, and he was already there. So I talked to Ron Campanera, and I said, listen, he says, go, and plus Mr. Fitzgerald said, we better do it just in case.
Yeah.
Because that thing was huge, the one branch. And plus you could see where part of the branches already fell off, and where one of the good branches was actually holding it in the air from coming down over top the power lines and the roadway. So that's why he called me up right after he got the branch, the big one down. He said, this tree is done. And he showed me, I said, yeah, get rid of it. You got to take it down. So,
The utility company wouldn't pay for that?
I'm not sure if they would, because it was on our property. This thing just came about very, very fast, because of what we saw and the damage that actually fell. Because we originally had a branch fall right on basically just off the sidewalk. And one of the other trees, we had 2 other instances that fell basically on the sidewalk and part in the road. That's one of the other ones he took down. So I'll have to look into it if it's something the power company will do. But this one here it wasn't touching. It was all the way over top though.
What was the cost?
The total cost was $8,850 for that. So, like I said, it was three trees removed and the trimming of the one that was over the other wires. And I spoke with the Supervisor Sterling. She they had a grant come through last year, and it didn't go through because of COVID, but they are gonna look at it again, and they have like a forester. He's gonna come through, and they included the courthouse square on it. So he's gonna come by and tag, evaluate the trees and give recommendations on either to keep them, prune them, or something. So at least we'll get a free, a service out of that. Cause I was going to look at getting somebody to, to do that also. But yeah, no, I'll definitely look into cause we have other trees on the property in the back that are near power lines, but they're not actually on them. They're just, if they did fall, they would take them out. So
yeah, usually they can identify hazard trees if you speak to the forestry division of the utility. Like that's grid down there, but you might want to, give them a call because it could save thousands of dollars.
Yeah, because we do have some on the back going down the roadway. They're not necessarily over them, but if they did fall, of course, they're going to go probably down the bank side, and that's where the power lines run through. So, and some of them are dead and need to be addressed. So I'll try to contact someone through the grid.
Accident Review had a couple of these last month that we went over where some of the trees came down and did some damage, and we wound up in the middle of a lawsuit over it. So I agree that we should be kind of staying on top of this, and seeing what else we can do to help support the price, but we got to also get these trees taken care of. So.
Yeah, right now we're in good shape, for now with what they've done. But I'll try to reach out to I got the regional forester's name, but also I'll try to get a hold of National Grid and see what they recommend and if they'll do something to work with us on that.
Okay.
Let's see here. We have airport. We had an issue at the airport. Someone hit the door as it was going up and never stayed and was watching what was going on and really put a wrinkle in that door. You know, we were shocked when we got there to see it, but we were able to get it down safely and get new cables put on it. So that was an interesting day. Let's see. Then out at the airport, and you know, I'm just currently working with the Passero Associates, working on the new fuel form, getting everything situated, how we're gonna what we need to do, where the electric is. So that's been an ongoing affair right now. So basically, that in a nutshell, that's been what we've been doing the last month. Any questions?
Well, I thank you, Brian, for keeping everything going best you can. I know it's been a busy month down there, but
Yeah,
as far as
Yeah.
for everybody, you know, I know that was an expense, but I actually thought that it was a pretty reasonable fee for all the work that they did get done out there, because tree work gets expensive, especially in a city like that. And I wanted to thank Sarah for being involved a little bit, and if they can point us to what trees should be planted in the future or something that we could do, I'd be happy to work along with you for that one. So keep us
Yeah,
informed.
I agree.
yeah, that one tree was a mess by the gazebo. That could have killed somebody in a second.
Yeah.
Large limb, and Brian is helping us with the parking on the, Brian, I haven't got the letter off yet, but for the signage for 325, we're trying to straighten out that whole parking issue. But Brian has the signs ready. They look great.
Yeah, all we need to do, you know, like I said, I just have the templates. Once that, then you know, I'll of course ask Trevor, you know, the sign shop to make them. But yeah, this way we got to do something. We've let many, you know, people are just abusing it too much, and there's really nowhere for a lot of the county employees or the customers if they do come to the buildings to park. It is an issue. And like I said, we're going to be really good about it. And hopefully we don't have to do anything, enforce anything, but we'll give ample notice. But, you know, I think we're going to do a 3-strike rule, you know, if that's what you know, that's what everyone's comfortable with.
Yeah, I see Rob is on here, Fitzsimmons too. So we'll get the legal part of it straightened away. Because Hudson is involved with the main parking lot of 325. It's Hudson's, which complicates things.
Okay. Yeah, because I think there are our signs on there, but they're just not worded right. So I don't know if that was ever discussed before. So,
Well, Rick-
but
Yeah, Rick Scalera's gonna be the point person on it because he knows. We looked back, Rob did, as to what the initial agreement was, and we just want to finalize that again with Hudson to make sure we're all on the same page, and then hopefully
Okay.
they'll come ticket
Oh, okay.
in that one. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, sir. I know that's parking has been an issue down there for years, so it'd be helpful to get some of that straightened out. If there's no other questions for Brian, I just wanted to move on to the last resolution.
There was, Brian had talked about doing something in an executive session. Did you have to do that,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Brian?
Yep. Brian just has that on there, I think, right? You need to talk to us about that, Brian?
Brian?
No, sorry about that. Oh, no, that one, we were just saying, you know, in case anyone wanted to discuss that, that's what's going on. We have one senior building maintenance worker out, and he's going to be out for quite a while. And one of our other seniors, he's coming back in 2 weeks. So, yeah, we don't need to go into executive for that.
Okay.
Just in case we discussed the matters of it. That's all.
All right.
Sorry
Thank you.
about that. Yep.
That's okay. Thank you.
Any questions for Brian? If not, then I do have a resolution that I brought from the Space Utilization Committee meeting. We had met a while ago and talked about a number of little projects. One of the larger portions of that I'd like to get started on is we'd like to consider out at 50 Grandinetti Drive, which is Commerce Park, where we did the fire training center. We've got some land left out there that I think we could do something with. And my idea was, could we do a new OFA kitchen and office building over there to replace the Philmont kitchen building? If you folks remember the study that we had done some years ago about the expense of some of our buildings, OFA Philmont building is going to need some significant work over the next few years, as does 610 State Street. And my thought was, if we could build a new building out there, and this is all speculative at this point in time, but if we could build a new building out there, we could replace the kitchen, move some staff around, and then sell 610 and sell the Philmont building as well too. But we really needed to bring on an engineer to do some sort of feasibility study on that to see how much land we could build on out there and what resources are there, and do a little bit of a study to give us some rough cost estimates. So I did prepare, the committee thought that it best if we did an RFP for that selecting of a firm. So I did put together a quick RFP for a qualified engineered architect firm to develop a feasibility and concept plan for constructing a new building at the Grandinetti Drive site in Commerce Park. If the committee would please, I need a motion to move that along. A question?
I'll make a motion, move that.
I'll second.
Got a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any questions? I know some of you are on that committee and some of you aren't, but it's just a feasibility study at this point in time. I think it'd be an interesting project. All right, read through that. If you got any questions, feel free to give me a holler. Any other questions need to come to Public Works? Comments? Donnell's already outside. We could all go outside. He's already there.
Well, sorry about the wind. I had to get outside for a little bit.
Yes. I did tell Jolene earlier we should all meet outside today, I think, and we could get together again. All right, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move it.
Second.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everybody.
All
Good
right,
night. Good night now.
Good night.
Good, everybody.